The Cigar Nerds Podcast.
And welcome to Cigar Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Smokin' Joe.
I'm your co-host, Brad Jackson.
And here we are. And for you people that maybe just be listening to the audio show, we now have a video show as well. So, hi YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and all that bullshit.
Smash that like button.
But go to the YouTube, look up Cigar Nerds Podcast if you want to see what this shit wagon looks like while we're filming it. And if you're just watching the video show...
we just got demonetized.
We're not monetized yet anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, we normally do a shorter version for YouTube. So if you want to see the full extended version of the show, yeah, go to our website and download the audio broadcast as well. So, what are we smoking this week, Brad?
This week we had the CAO Arcana Firewalker.
Yes, remember, I guess about a year ago, we talked about the first of the Arcana series of cigars, the Mortal Coil, and this is the kind of the sequel to that.
I mean, this definitely, off the gate, seems to be a much bigger, bolder cigar than I remember the Immortal Coil being.
Yeah, this one definitely has. I mean, the Mortal Coil was good, but it wasn't enough to, like, I don't think I smoked one past what we smoked on the show, but this one's got a bit of a...
Yeah, I mean,
you got a name like Firewalker.
Yeah, this is a big boy, and I think they're calling it Firewalker because you've got the Habano Rosada wrapper with Nicaraguan Habano binder, and even some Habano fillers. Like,
well, kind of one of the things about this Arcana series is bringing historic ways of aging tobacco to, like, the modern cigars. So, the weird thing they do with this cigar is the primary aging used by local tobacco farmers in western Nicaragua. They basically pile up the tobacco and then bury it in, like, volcanic soil for 2 months. So this looked like, was put, under the dirt for like 2 months to to age before they
not only the dirt, but
cigar.
like you said, the volcanic ash, and that soil does wonders for tobacco.
Yeah, it definitely has like
you can definitely
a smokier flavor to it.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's not as strong as like the Kentucky Fire Cured, but it definitely it gives it like a smokiness to it that I like. And then even after
it's burning, Joe.
Well, I meant like a smoky in flavor, not smoky as in actual smoky. Only you can prevent forest fires. Yeah, and then it's aged an additional 9 months after they dig it up. So, yeah, this is a lot goes into these Arcana series that you don't see in most modern day cigars, which I like the old school way of doing it. I mean, this is damn flavorful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's got an earthiness. It's got, that char sort of flavor to it. Anybody that is a fan of smoked or barbecued foods that likes a little bit of kick with your sauce, this cigar, right up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, I just smoked some wings today, and it's like, yeah, that's not that flavor I was experiencing earlier. But it's not so much, like I said, the Kentucky Fire Cured style of cigars. That's got a much more, I guess, charcoal.
Well, I mean, that's just char. Like, let's call it for what it is, That
tastes more burnt than where this tastes smoked.
Yeah, this is refined. The Kentucky Fire Cure is just like, let's put flame to it and see what happens.
Let's burn things. People like that.
But, this is also one of those misleading cigars because, people often have that perception that, oh, it's dark, it's going to be strong as hell. But, this has got that Colorado coloring to it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it would be, that kind of intent. Not even like, I said, we just started, so I can't really tell if that's strong, but definitely just bold flavor. And, normally I smoke my regulars, and if we're going to do something on the show, I try not to smoke it so we can get like a kind of an honest first reaction when we're recording. And this thing's, I'm impressed so far.
Yeah, I mean, off the gate into the first third, this is shaping up to be definitely a full flavor, full body cigar.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
I mean, I'm liking this one more than the The Mortal Coil was good, but it wasn't one that I went back to. I mean, the price point on these are $12, $13. So I'm like, it wasn't one that it like made into my everyday rotation. It was good, but it wasn't one that like, oh damn, I gotta have that again. This one though, this one I will probably have more of.
Well, and I gotta say, just the artwork of the box looks awesome.
Yeah, they do like a good, like I said, I like that kind of red and back, but they do like special. I know for these special cigars,
to the goth in me.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Is like if you're a Vampire the Masquerade cosplayer or whatever. I mean, it kind of fits your aesthetic. So this week, for those watching at home, you can see the lightsaber and the Baby Yoda on the table. We're gonna talk about books. This is the
What the hell's a Baby Yoda?
fucking Grogu, whatever, the little bastard, green bastard there. But it's kind of like the mechanic says. That's a stupid name. I'm not gonna call you that. But we're welcome to the Cigar Nerds Book Club. We're going to talk about books this week, specifically the Book of Boba Fett.
Which was not a book at all.
No, I didn't see any reading involved.
Well, I mean, I did have my subtitles on.
Yeah, the Sand People had some subtitles. Some of the other aliens. So yeah, there was some reading involved. There we go. Visual books. But if you're going to have to fight off a Pike Syndicate, you should call in the Strike Force. StrikeForceEnergy.com. Use your promo code CigarNerds for 20% off your order. If you got a travel light, it comes in tiny little 10 pouches. You can take them anywhere on any of your galactic runs. Damn, it's a good cigar. But with that, we'll be right back. And welcome back. Yeah, we went looking for Skywalker. We found the Firewalker. I mean,
what a cool name. Luke Firewalker.
Starkiller. Well, that was like supposed to be like Luke's like in the I
that
guess,
would be like the parody of.
Well, like in the early drafts of Star Wars, it was his name, Luke Starkiller, and they changed it to Skywalker, and then they used Starkiller in the Force Unleashed series. That's what they end up naming whatever Darth Vader's apprentice was, Starkiller. And then of course they named that stupid Death Star Part 3 from Force Awakens Starkiller Base.
Good on you for being able to keep track of all of that. I forgot my name 3 times this week alone. And it's only Tuesday.
Good times.
For all the wrong reasons.
Do you remember your name?
I'm on a podcast.
Your name is Brad. We're in the Nerd Cave, aka this murder shed we record in.
Oh, the Murder Shed. I got it now. Great.
Yeah, you may want to take off that giant band, because it's the only dangerous of these Arcanas. They got a big-ass band, and those things will,
I thought that was there to enhance the flavor of the cigar. So I don't smoke through the band?
No, but like I said, this one's
boy.
a little bit, longer than normal, so you'll you'll hit paper sooner than you realize.
Oh, I guess the bands will make her dance.
So yes, today we're gonna talk about the Book of Boba Fett, aka Mandalorian Season 3, from the from the way it kind of went through there.
Wow. Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, we're gonna spoil the shit out of this. So anyone who watched Mandalorian Season 2, it ended with a post-credit scene of Boba Fett and Fennec Shan walking into Jabba's palace and capping old Bib Fortuna in the face and taking over what's left of Jabba's crime and syndicate. And Book of Boba Fett picks up where that kind of
Yeah, at this
started
point,
off.
can it even be called a syndicate anymore?
Yeah, because it seems like it's just like...
Hey, we're a
one
bunch
town.
of random people. Like,
Yeah, it's like how... Like the collapse of Jabba's empire there. It's like I always thought like Jabba was like this, controlled like a lot of space, and it's like at this point when like after Bib Fortuna took over, it's like pretty much I just run Mos Espa. Like I got A-Town.
peace up. A-Town down.
West Side. Oh. But yeah, so we have Tamura Morrison returning as Boba Fett, aka the guy who played all the clones in the prequels, and Jango Fett, and now Boba Fett.
Yay!
Which,
I mean, that's awesome though. You literally get to carry out the Fett, lineage.
yeah, and he's pretty much like, after playing like Jango and all that, it's been so long. Like he's like legit the correct age to play Boba now. So it's kind of fitting that he got to come back.
I agree. So let me ask, what do you think? Start from the very beginning. Did episode 1 fill in some plot holes and explain some things that, previously were kind of left unvisualized? Like as far as how, one would escape from a Sarlacc?
Yeah, so this, that's one of the things since Boba Fett survived in the old Star Wars books, but that's since the Disney takeover, none of that stuff is canon, so we all was like...
So is it rifle?
Canon isn't part of the official story. So yeah, it was like, we all like assumed...
I rifled through the story.
We wanted Boba Fett to survive, but like I said, since all the books were null and void, we're like, until he showed up in, season 2 of The Mandalorian, it's like, did Boba survive? But yeah, episode 1 starts off with like, they kind of, start off current times where him being in Jabba's palace, trying to run, bringing his gang to life. But then we get a series of flashbacks showing what happened to him from his time ending up in the Sarlacc pit to where he is today, and fills in those backstories. And it starts with him escaping the Sarlacc, which I gotta say, it was kind of similar to in the books. He basically overloaded his jetpack and exploded the inside of the Sarlacc. Where this, he broke out his flamethrower and just like burned his way out and shimmied up through the sand and passed out in the. But in the books, he was found by the bounty hunter Dengar, who like nursed him back to health in exchange for like, hey, I need you to help me on a mission, and him and Boba teamed up for a while. Where this, it's like, we know from Mandalorian season 2, somehow his armor ended up in a Jawa sandcrawler that eventually got bought or whatever by Vanth, the Marshal of Mos Peglos, aka Freedom Town. But you're like, you see what happens now. It's like fucking he crawls out of the damn Sarlacc and just passes out in the sand, and a bunch of thieving ass Jawas jack his suit and just leave him out there. It's like, goddamn Jawas, always stealing shit.
But if you can get them on your side, they're the most resourceful beings ever.
Yeah, as long as you're paying them for shit, they'll get you whatever you want. But
like,
yeah,
where did you find that?
it's like, don't ask.
Redefine the whole don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yeah. And we also have our first incident of someone dating a Jawa, which comes later in the series.
Apparently they're hairy.
Yeah. Lots of hair. Like, they've never actually, like, in movies, cartoons, but they've never shown a Jawa without its robe, but apparently they're like little rat people, from what I hear.
Huh. Little rat people. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I mean, there's that. I mean, that's something.
So, yeah, he's, I like, too, because, like I said, he was, and that's the idea, I'm like, how long was that motherfucker, like, in the Sarlacc before he crawled out? Like, it doesn't give us any kind of...
Like a time reference.
Yeah, and I think, whatever, the Mandalorian supposed to take place 4 or 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So, man, was he in that stomach for a couple years before he dug out? Or was that whole stuff with him and the Tuskens, was he with them for, like, several years?
Maybe there was a Bacta tank in the Sarlacc, and, he was able to continually rejuvenate himself while,
It may take a while to roast your way out of a out of a Sarlacc. But yeah, then he's found by Tuscans who decide to enslave him or eat him. We don't know what Tuscans are doing. But I tell you, one thing was kind of cool.
Tuscans are doing Tuscan things, and that's all they're...
just chill. I do like this too, because it gave us more kind of backstory on the Tuscans. I mean, just this one tribe, but always in the movies and the books, they've just been like kind of random savages, but it gave them more.
Yeah, no,
more
I mean,
character.
this was actually like watching a cultural documentary, on the Tuscans, I mean, you just get, so much more in depth with, basically their, culture and society. And I thought it was kind of cool, where, I always just figure, they're brutal savages, but I guess if you've got the will and the strength to fight, you can earn their respect.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of we've always made the comment that the Mandalorians, especially, kind of looks like a Western. Like this very much looked like some of the old Westerns where the white man ends up getting adopted by an Indian tribe or something, and it had that old school Western of the cowboy gaining the respect of the natives and kind of being an honorary part of the
you have things I can learn
stuff.
And I have things I can teach.
Dances with Sarlaccs.
And they, there was no cornucopia.
But yeah, I said these first first four episodes, the flashbacks I thought were better than the actual things happening.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing
in the
for
show.
me is, especially episode 1 and 2, I'm like, I want to see more action. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, the flashbacks are great, but then we cut back to present time, and it's like, I just want more from the series.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, too, is I think they kind of screwed themselves a little bit because his, introduction and Mandalorian, when he just shows up and just fucks up all those, stormtroopers.
It starts, at a 10.
Yeah. And then, now it's kind of a slow burn for these first couple episodes. I mean, we get action eventually, but yeah, it's he was such, larger than life and badass when he first shows up in The Mandalorian, and then he, doesn't do a whole lot these first couple of episodes. I mean,
and even then, when it is time for the badassery, there's the moments, but I never got that larger than life sense because, there's always a foe or, he's in some sort of a, peril. And for me, it in a way brought, a more humanized approach to the character, I guess.
Yeah, they try to turn him into The Sopranos.
Where, essentially it's, you're now king, this is your kingdom, you've got to figure out how to rule. And do you do that with an iron fist, or do you do that by, trying to help everybody so everybody, in turn will, be grateful and help you?
Yeah, and it's he has that conversation with Fennec Shan when they first go to all right, let's go out on our first patrol and talk to my new subjects or whatnot. And she's like, I can go deal with these people myself. And he's like, no, Jabba ruled out of fear. I tend to rule out of respect. And she's like, I get that, but just so you know, push comes to shove. Fear is easier. But I like they really kind of make him, even though he's the new crime boss, he legitimately wants to help the people of Mos Espa, and it's he spent so much time as that solo bounty hunter, not depending on anybody, just a gun for hire, and then he shows up and he's like, I want to be a boss now, but then. And you kind of don't understand that until you get through these flashbacks where he's like, no, I want a tribe of my own. Like this is not about being the crime boss and making a shitload of money. It's about kind of building a family in my own way. Cause like, I'm tired of risking my life for dumbasses. Like if I'm going to risk my life, I'd rather it be for my own benefit. And like, I also, can't do this alone and need, trusted people around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I later on, talking about the Tuscans, I think that's really, got that sense of tribe and community, and working toward, a common goal for the collective community.
I also thought it was kind of funny when you first see his flight suit that's under his armor from being in the Sarlacc is bleached completely white. So he's in this like white jumpsuit. Well, if you know anything about like the history of Star Wars, the original prototype for Boba Fett, he was going to be a kind of like an elite stormtrooper. So like his original armor is all white, and they decided to not like go that direction.
Well, obviously,
and then painted
because
him up, to what we know him now.
He'd be a pretty shitty bounty hunter because he'd never hit anything.
Yeah, he was supposed to be like Stormtrooper Special Forces was like Lucas's original plan, and then they decided like, nah, let's not do that, but I still want to use this cool armor character we made, so they painted him up, made him, a bounty hunter. So yeah, his original suit was all white, so when him showing up in like the white jumpsuit, I'm like, all right, that's kind of throwback to the the OG.
The origins, if you will.
Yeah, but him first like adapting to being with the Tuscans, like when the kid takes him out to like hunt whatever watermelons, whatever
the black melon.
Yeah, the black melon. It's like their way they get water and stuff. He accidentally digs up like a 4-armed fucking Goro from Mortal Kombat, and then fucking decapitate, chokes him out with a chain like Leia doing Jabba, and then brings the kid back safe and like lets him take all the credit. So the kid, you can't understand Tuscan language, but the kid's like, talking all this shit like, yeah, I'm a soldier now. I killed this beast and stuff. And the chief just walks over to Boba Fett and like hands him a melon. He's like, yeah, I know you're letting the kid, gain some respect, but like, yeah, I know who really killed this beast.
Or do you? Bum bum bum.
But yeah, like the kind of modern times of this episode, he goes to the Mos Espas to check it out. His that funny running joke is like, "Oh, I didn't hear you show up. Like, where's your litter?" And he's like, "I'm a man. I'll walk on my own 2 feet. I'm not a fat hut that's gonna get carried around everywhere." Which I didn't see. Why didn't he just like fly his ship, like just land that ship in the middle of town and be like, "Here's my litter." Or we didn't have the budget for Slave One running around, except for a couple episodes.
Yeah, that was the one thing. Is it's such an iconic ship.
Yeah.
Like, but I get it. You can't always give your fans too much of what they want.
And that's the other thing too. So they go to the cantina called the Sanctuary, and like, he's talking about not wanting to use a litter, and Fennec Shan's like, things would go a lot easier if you conform to everybody's, the normalities or whatever. And, the couple of Twilight Soap's like, hey, can we polish your helmets for you? And she's like, no way. He's like, no, yeah, let them polish your helmets. Like, things would go easier if we follow their traditions. Throws it back at her. And they bring the helmets back, and his is like full of credits. And it's like, she just looks like, I think your helmet's shinier than mine. But then they got jumped by those assassins with the shields, which that's like the first kind of action we get.
Yeah.
But then again, like watching it through like a second I'm like, all right, cool. He's like fighting these dudes. He has a jetpack. Why didn't he just fly up? You're surrounded by guys with shields. Fly over those motherfuckers.
I don't know. To me,
shooting the rocket at close range was not a good idea. That kind of hurt a little bit. But I'm like, yeah, dude, just go for a flight.
I don't know. It felt very video game-ish, I was like, oh, are we doing some Assassin's Creed or Prince of Persia type shit going on? But, it was kind of cool, because, you expect him to have the rifle and, everything else, but to see more of a martial arts parkour, type event.
You get Fennec Shan's like a badass. She gets that whole like parkour chasing the assassins, and he blows the one up with the rocket. I was like, all right, yeah, that's payback for attacking me. And he's like, bring them back alive. And I like when she catches up with like the two of them and like looks at the one and he's like, I only need one of you, and like chunks the other one off the building. Oh, but I say that the second episode probably has one of my favorite jokes in the thing. That too, to back it up a second, like we get that first scene of everyone coming to the palace to pay tribute to the new daimyo, and you get that slimy freaking assistant of the mayor, and I'm like, they have done a perfect job of depicting a politician.
Yes.
Like every time that slimy bastard's on screen, I'm just like, politicians. Even in a galaxy far away, they're still douchebags.
They don't change, do they?
All politicians are cunts. That and the did you notice the mayor's name?
I don't think I paid that.
It was Mayor Mock Shies. So if you say it fast, it's Mayor McCheese. Mayor Mock Cheese. Like that has to be like a freaking, that has to be on. Favreau had to like write that joke on purpose. Is like, yeah, we gotta go see Mayor Mock Cheese.
Mac and cheese.
That was like the fucking mayor from like McDonald's Land, Mayor McCheese.
For some reason, I'm thinking Rescue Rangers, Monterey Jack cheese.
But yeah, when they bring the assassin back to the palace to like question him, and he's like, not gonna say anything, and Fennec's like, well, maybe he'll talk to the Rancor, and like hits the button, and he falls into the pit, and the gate slowly starts opening, and he's like, it was the mayor sent me, and the gate opens, there's just a rat in there, and she's like, we don't have a Rancor, dumbass. I was like, that's like the funniest fucking joke.
Yes.
Because like if you remember Return of the Jedi, they haven't replaced the Rancor that Luke killed, not yet anyway. Spoiler alerts, we get another Rancor.
And we get a Danny Trejo.
I kept expecting him to come back though. Like literally, he's in that one episode
for like 20 seconds,
and then you never see him again. I was like, "Where's Trejo, man? I want to see Trejo, like or like a training montage of him teaching Boba to ride a Rancor or some shit." We got nothing. We got like
well,
basically a cameo, and it was a Robert Rodriguez directed episode, so of course Danny Trejo's in it.
It's like we only have enough budget for 30 seconds. Danny's expensive.
Yeah. But yeah, when he goes to like, then they go to visit the mayor, and he tells him that, oh no, I didn't hire the assassins. Are you sure? You really see what's going on? And he goes and back to the bar, and turns out a couple of Jabba's cousins, the twins, are showing up to lay claim to his place. And that's like the most bad. He just like walks out of the bar, and they're on their like big leader with Black Karestan, the Wookiee bounty hunter / gladiator. That motherfucker is badass. I mean, he looks like way bigger than Chewbacca, and like his like electrified brass knuckles he has. That's one badass character. I definitely want to see him return in the future.
I definitely wanted to see more of his arc. Absolutely.
Yeah, and he like just
I don't know, just something about like the coloring and everything else. I'm like, yeah, you're badass.
And just like Jabba, like just or not Jabba, Boba, just like talking shit to the Hutts, like just like if y'all want to do something, today's a good day to die. But and it's funny too, like the male, I guess, of the Hutts reminds me very much of like these old movies of like the Southern Gentleman, where he's like using a rat to like wipe sweat off his brow. He's like he like pulls his rat out like he's gonna eat it, but he just like uses it to like pat his face. Oh, good lord, I'm getting the vapors. I was like, that's funny as shit. He's like wiping his face with a fucking rat.
I don't know. I mean,
Bring me my sweat rat.
Rat or rag?
Same thing. Give me my sweat rat.
I mean, I could understand if it was like a Pomeranian or something. You know, that's like a mop. A rat, I don't know how absorbent a rat is.
Maybe he has more than one rat. He just kind of like just switches them out.
I'll have to get another pet rat, see how it works at absorbing sweat. You'd be like, dude, why is your face scratched up? No, tried to use my sweat rat.
Oh god, that reminds me of a. Tell you once we're off the mic, there's a great scene from Peacemaker with a unfortunate raccoon incident. But yeah, and of course the flashbacks, we get more of Fett becoming part of the tribe, where now that he's kind of gained their respect by saving the kid, he sees the tribe get attacked by a Pike's spice train, and he's like, these motherfuckers like shoot at you all the time, and they're like, yeah, pretty much. And he's like, I could stop that if you want me to. And he like ventures off on his own and goes to like fucks up this biker gang and like steals all their bikes and brings them back, and he's like, my gift to you. And they all start trying to like, break him. He's like, no. Like,
what did you think about the design of the bikes? Did you get, I got very much 50s era not the bikes from the that he steals for the Tuscans, but the bikes from his gang later on. Yeah, very much like 50s, like 50s hot rod or like lowrider.
Yeah. Like just the crazy ass colors and shit. Like those were.
I didn't expect that design.
No.
I don't know what I was anticipating, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, like the things he stole from the biker gang looked more like the traditional speeder bikes we're used to in Star Wars, where those things were like, those are fucking fancy. It's like the Nikto gang he stole them from very much looked like the old style bikers where they got kind of leather jackets and stuff, where this is like the more kind of the 60s, like younger generation, like flashier bikers. Almost like lowrider culture.
So you're a greaser.
Like bikers. I guess. No, greasers still like wore like leather and shit. But, like these are, I guess, the more European style bikers, I guess. I mean, they all had English accents, so it kind of makes sense. Like the crotch rocket or cafe bikers.
Cafe bikers.
Yeah, it's like the kind of English style. They'd basically more racing than cruising style bikes. Yeah, they definitely had a unique style that didn't kind of fit in with Tatooine.
Yeah, no, they definitely stood out, and I mean, I'm not gonna say I hated it or anything. I was just like, that seems out of place.
Yeah, when he had him using them for like intelligence and stuff and like following people, I'm like, y'all a little flashy for surveillance work. I mean, they were cool at all. They they kicked some ass, but yeah,
then at the same time, like maybe that goes into that whole hiding in plain sight. Like, oh, this person's too flashy to be, a private eye.
Definitely not going to be some kind of spy. And that was too like you get, his first kind of whatever other businessman comes to him is like, these unruly youths are stealing my water, and then he goes to investigate, and they're like, well, yeah, of course we stole his water because he's charging us like a month's wages for a week's worth of water. And he's like, there's no jobs, there's no food. And he's like, well, if you want to work, then come work for me. Y'all seem like, resourceful individuals. Come, I'll give you a job. And then tells the corrupt watermonger to fuck off and lower his prices. This is my town, bitch.
I need a town.
Oh. But yeah, that whole thing of him teaching the training montage of him teaching the Tuscans to ride speeder bikes is kind of hilarious. there's a lot of this stuff where Favreau is definitely, you can see a lot of kind of references to pop culture in other movies. This very much reminds me of like a great train robbery Western, you know, like Butch and Sundance. It's that, you know, classic Western of outlaws gonna hijack a train was, I mean, that, and then the chief's wife or whatever, I guess she is. She's a bad bitch. I mean, when she gets on the train and just starts,
dude,
bodies flying out the windows and shit. I'm like, you're a bad motherfucker.
I don't know. Although I did feel bad for the one Tuscan that, you know, had to practice the jumping from, you know, speed.
Yeah. He's like, we gotta like, you know, jump off and land on the train, and that dude just kept falling. I mean, one time he landed on it, he's like, I'm on it. Oh, nope, falling off. Oh yeah, them learning to ride was kind of hilarious. And then of course after they take the train and tell the Pikes, like, you know, this land belongs to the Tuscan. Y'all gonna have to pay toll if you want to come through. They send officially adopt Fett into the tribe and like give him a lizard, and he's just like, thank you, I will treasure this lizard. And then it crawls up his nose and he starts tripping balls and goes on a fucking vision
ayahuasca
quest. Yes. He's like, oh, sorry, I think I swallowed it. And then all of a sudden he just starts tripping balls and ends out somewhere out in the desert and finds a tree. Comes back with his gaffy stick. And then like the chief opens up the little box and the lizard pops out of his nose and jumps back in the box. He's like, oh, I thought that was part of the hallucination.
Why don't we have trippy ball lizards?
You gotta get some of those whatever poison frogs. You're supposed to
just
you lick the poison frog and you start tripping balls. Oh, but yeah, of course when he goes to town to secure the deal with the Pikes, supposedly the biker gang returns and slaughters his tribe. So once again, he's alone. And the whole the kind of the montage too of him like building his gaffy stick once he's official part of the tribe. I thought that was cool too, showing like how they make the traditional Tuscan weapons.
I don't know. I just love, you know, the fact that they showed that, you know, I don't know, you know, I mean, it was really cool because I kept expecting, you know, blasters and that sort of thing, but there were a lot more hand-to-hand and martial arts involved, and I thought that was just an interesting, it was different than how I thought it would be in my head. You know, because I always think of, you know, Fett and, oh, he's got a rifle, he's got a rocket, he's got his little, you know.
He's got all the toys.
But I guess toys are no good if you don't know fundamentals.
I mean, he spent a lifetime in his armory. Now he's got to learn to adapt to not being bulletproof. And then the next episode, we get the end of the flashbacks that kind of show how him and Fennec Shan teamed up. Because remember in The Mandalorian, she got gut shot and left for dead in the desert. And of course, Fett finds her and takes her into town and gets her modified by basically the guy who modifies people with droid parts and saves her life. And then when she wakes up, he's like, hey, I need some help getting my ship back from Bib Fortuna. If you help me do that, you know,
your debt is paid.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna, like, you know, you don't owe me your life. I'm not. And that them breaking into Jabba's former palace to like, I like the droids in the kitchen. One with like all the freaking butcher knives trying to fight him. And then they're like, oh, we heard a noise, must be the rat. And you get this like little freaking tuning fork droid comes in there. It's apparently the rat catcher. And them running around trying to catch that little bastard before he sets off the alarm. And this is when he like gets him and he's like, do you know who I am? I am Boba Fett. And the guy's like, oh shit, and just turns himself off.
Yes.
It's like, fuck this. I'm out.
Like, I didn't even know that was an option for droids. Like, the droids just like, oh, it's a bad situation. Power down.
Yeah, I don't want to feel this. I'm gonna power down. Oh, and then once he gets his ship back, and she's like, so what's next? And he's just like, well, you did what I asked of you. You're free. And she's like, well, I don't know. I got nothing else to do. Let me tag along for the ride. Let's see what's You've piqued my interest, Mr. Fett. Let me see what else you got going. He's like, well, I got a few debts to pay. So then he like fucking blows up that whole biker gang, death from above. And then he's like, all right, I got one more person I owe, and goes to the freaking Sarlacc and goes trying to find his armor. And the thing wakes up and like starts trying to eat the ship. And Finnick drops that like whatever seismic bomb that you saw from like episode 2 into the Sarlacc and finally blows the fucker up. He's like, don't touch my buttons. Even though you just saved our asses. And of course the armor's not down there because it got jacked by Jawas.
How did the Jawas manage to not get eaten?
Well, they didn't go in there. They just like found Fett after he crawled out of the Sarlacc. They just didn't get close enough to end up in the pit.
Like, what is the radius? Like, how far away from the pit? Like, is it like a trapdoor spider? As long as you don't,
Yeah, as long as you don't end up in the hole, you're good. Because it says that, they said in whatever Return of the Jedi that it, takes thousands of years to digest something. So it probably doesn't have to eat that much. It probably just hangs out and just waits for something to fall into his pit. Probably doesn't have to eat very much. He was fed up with several stormtroopers and shit in the to Return of the Jedi, so he's good. Probably has indigestion from Fett burning a hole in his stomach to get out, but
that was a spicy one.
Yeah, I think I ate a jalapeno popper. But yeah, then him and Finnick have that conversation where he's like, I want to build a tribe. Like, she's like, I'm tired of, we both have risked our lives for idiots. And I'm tired of having idiots almost getting me killed. I want to be the one in charge. And she's like, well, I don't want to work for people. And he's like, no, you're going to be my partner. Like, I will pledge my life to keeping you safe. If you, do the same, we're going to share this equally. You're not going to be my employee. You're going to be my partner. And she's like, all right, sounds pretty good. Yeah, then you found out that the when he tries to get assassinated again by Black K, and they all have to fight him off and end up like holding him in the Sarlacc pit, and the twins show up and they're like, hey, yeah, we're leaving. So this we brought you this Rancor as a peace offering because we found out that dirty mayor like promised the planet to the Pike Syndicate, and we don't want to fuck with the Pike Syndicate, so we're out. We suggest you should do the same. And then he frees, like, he's like, well, here's your assassin back. And they're like, keep him. That's our gift to you. And he's just like, it was just business. No hard feelings. Go about your bit. But he's like, from one old bounty hunter to another, don't work for assholes. And he's like, yep, I get that.
True enough.
I love later on when he's like in the bar getting drunk and he sees the slavers, and he finally just like snaps and like grabs, about to rip one of them's head off. And about the time Boba Fett walks in, and the owner there is like, hey, you've run up a good bar tab. If you were a great gladiator and well respected, but now you're scaring people. Like, if you let him go, I'll clear your bar tab. And he's like, well, you think he's about to put him down? And he's like, rips his arm off and chunks him. He's like, and then Fett just looks at her. He's like, well, you tried. It was a good try. And then he's like, hey, big guy, you want a job? I could use some
muscle.
Some muscle. Oh,
yeah, because that was a cool dynamic. Is it wasn't always about the muscles. Sometimes it was about having the brains.
Yeah, and people you could like his original plan. Like, I'm gonna rule with respect, and he started acquiring people that like, oh, he gives us respect, and we're gonna give him respect. And
it's that whole do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
And then we get like 2 episodes that Boba Fett's barely in his own series.
Yeah, that was a different twist. Like, honestly, like I was watching, and it switched, and I'm like, did I just click on the Mandalorian?
Yeah. Because I knew that was coming at the end of episode 4 when they find out that the Pikes are coming for him, and he tells the other crime families, like, hey, we could make a lot of money here, but I will deal with the Pikes as long as y'all promise to stay neutral and not betray me. And they're like, all right, this sounds like some business we can do. And then Fennec's like, well, we need... she's like, how much credits you got? And she's like, oh, I got plenty of credits. What I don't have is enough muscle. She's like, well, you can always buy muscle if you know where to look. And then the theme music changes to like the Mandalorian theme. I'm like, oh shit, I know who she's gonna hire. And in that next episode, you just see him like walk into like the slaughterhouse pretty much, and it's like, oh yeah, he's back, baby. But he's no good with that lightsaber.
I mean, it's a dark sword, I mean, yeah.
Ends up cutting his own leg. He goes to get in the elevator. He's got like a severed head in a bag, and like the other guy in the elevator just looking at him like, oh shit, what have I what have I walked into? And of course he finds the armor and the last surviving of his kind of group of Mandos, and they fight for the sword. He ends up keeping it, but she's like, hey, did you ever take your helmet off? And he's like, yeah, I took my helmet off. Well, you're no longer Mandalorian. Peace out. And he's like, cool. I know a bunch of other Mandalorians that don't give a fuck about the whole helmet thing, so I'm gonna go hang out with those guys. And then him, it's so kind of depressing because like his ship got blown up in the last episode, and he's forced to take like commercial travel to get to Tatooine.
I love where it shows like, and no weapons are permitted on the ship, but weapons are my religion. Shit, I can relate to that, bro.
Yeah. It's like, well, I can ask my supervisor and put you. He's like, fine, fuck it. And like, this like the whole like him like unloading all the weapons into like the case. It's like the droid is like, holy shit, how much weapons you carrying, bro?
Enough.
I mean, he still has a flamethrower on his arm, so they didn't really get all his weapons. But yeah, that him having to take a commercial flight, and then gets back to his old friend, the mechanic, and he's like, "Where's the? You said you had a new or a new ship for me." He's like, "No, I said I had like a replacement. I had you shipped. It's not." And it's like an old like N1 starfighter from like episode 1, one of those like old Naboo starfighters. And I swear, like the rest of this episode, I got a real Fast and the Furious vibe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they just go through, start talking about ship components and upgrades, and
and they're building this. And it's like the montage of them building like a hot rod, a racer in like the first Fast and the Furious movie, and the thing even has like something that looks like an engine sticking up out of the hood. I mean, they basically just built this like fucking hot rod, and I'm like, and then he goes on like the test flight, and he's like, running through Beggar's Canyon, doing all, and he's like, I don't know, it seems awfully shaky, and she's like, you're used to flying a gunship, that's a starfighter, fly it like a starfighter. And he's like, okay, and it's like floors it, and he's like, oh yeah, now it's it's smooth, and like goes. And then of course gets pulled over by the cops. And it's the same X-Wing pilot from that you ran into in The Mandalorian. And, like they pull him over, and he's like, where's your identifier? He's like, I just got this ship. I'll go back and have it installed. This was just a test flight. And he's like, hey, you sound familiar. Did you used to fly this ship? We had a report of a ship like that blowing up a Imperial base on this other planet. You mind coming back to the station, just answering a few questions? He's like, let me hit this nitrous button because we're playing Fast and the Furious, and it just takes off.
But he didn't engage his hyperdrive. Blah blah blah. Like,
yeah, they're like,
do you want to do the paperwork on this,
or should we just? Yeah. We saw nothing. I don't want to do the paperwork.
Did you ever encounter anything like that in your past life?
No, I never ran into anybody with nitrous. Not a whole lot of street racers out here in the country.
Steam engines.
Oh, but then we also got the kind of the return of Grogu too. The Mando. Of course, at the end of this episode, Fennec shows up and offers Mando a job, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it, but I got to go visit a little friend first." So he goes to take the little Mandalorian armor chainmail he had made to give it to Grogu, and goes to the planet where they're training. And R2-D2 leads them to where they're building the school, and there's all these ant droids running around, and he's like, "So where's Skywalker?" And then he just powers off I'm not answering any more questions. What the fuck? And then the droids come over and build him a bench, and he's like, "Is this a bench?" I'm that's one way to tell sit down and wait a little while, motherfucker. Yeah. So he's going to build him a bench. You're going to be here for a minute.
Take a number. You're going to be here a while.
But yeah, the little training montage with Grogu and of course Ahsoka's return, and tells the Mando that he would, if he interrupts the training, that it's gonna be harder for him since he misses him. But the whole him and Luke trying to meditate, and he sees a frog, and then force lifts the frog and is about to eat it when Luke opens up. It's really, dude?
I've got a whole field of frogs.
It's here, let me show you what you can really do with the Force if you learn. And bloop, there's all the frogs. And then him trying to teach him to Force jump and stuff, and he's just kind of hops. He's all right, let me show you what you can really do, and puts him in the backpack like Yoda and starts running through the jungle. And or when they're just walking through the jungle, and he just keeps lifting him with the Force and moving him farther ahead so he can keep up with him.
Little short legs. Takes a lot longer to keep up.
But that whole thing at the end where it's he's your Mando brought you a gift. He's like, "Hey, this is Yoda's lightsaber." And he's like, "You can only choose one. Take the lightsaber and you'll become my first student. You take the armor, you can return to your Mando." And then it just episodes ends there, and of course the next episode too, or well, actually the end of this episode, they're still looking for some foot soldiers, so whatever Cobb Vanth is still Marshal despite giving up his armor, and he's even more like Clint Eastwood in this gun, when he finds the Pikes dealing drugs out in the den, and he's like, "Don't cause no trouble," and they go for the guns, and he just freaking guns them all down, and he's like, "There's this place is off limits for spice." But then Mando comes and tries to enlist him to help Fett in his war with the Pikes. And he's like, "Well, I'll call a town meeting and we'll let the town vote on it." But then you get probably the greatest intro. I'm a huge fan of the Clone Wars cartoon and the Bad Batch and all that. And you just see this cowboy hat figure start walking up out of the desert, and I'm like, no fucking way. That can't be who I think it is. And then when he walks up and it's holy fuck, it's Cad Bane.
Yes.
He is basically evil alien Clint Eastwood. I mean, it's he was such a badass character, and he was going toe to toe with Jedis and always coming out ahead. And even in the Bad Batch, if you saw that, he ended up tangling with Fennec Shan because he was trying to kidnap the Omega, and Fennec saved her because she was working for a different group. But yeah, and he was also kind of Boba Fett's mentor too. When Boba was young in the during the Clone Wars, he was kind of the one who taught him how to be a bounty hunter. So it's if anyone's a threat to Fett, man, it's Cad Bane. And he ends up shooting the Marshal and he's like, "I shot the sheriff, but I did kill the deputy."
Shoot the deputy. Yeah.
But I shot the deputy a lot. And that brings us to the final episode, where we finally got all the action that we had been wanting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a hell of a, wrap up as far as the action and everything was concerned.
And this one is the most Western to me. Like, you're not as big of a John Wayne fan as I am, but this whole episode reminded me heavily of Rio Bravo or El Dorado. Like, in both those movies, John Wayne ends up having to, like, hold up in the jail while the town is pretty much surrounded by, bad guys. And him and his, like, few loyal deputies are held up in the jail defending it. Well, in this one, it's just the blown up sanctuary bar that the Pikes decided to nuke to start the war. And then, of course, all his guys are scattered around Mos Espas watching the different crime family zones. When it turns out they all turn on him, and it's just him, Mando, and Finnick, and then the dirtbag mayor's assistants that they've kept. And I like that. He's like, well, we need to cut the head off the snake. Let's take care of, like, command and control. So Finnick, you go take care of, like, the bosses, and we'll try to hold out here long enough to hopefully the Freedom Town people come to help us. And they find out, Cad Bane comes up and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, it wasn't that biker gang that trying to, like, goad him into a fight. It wasn't the biker gang that killed your family. It was the Pikes. And, like, Fett almost, like, he's like, Finnick's like, no, don't, we fight on our terms. Don't do it. And, like, talks him out of it. And then they, when she leaves, and it's just him and the Mando, and it's like, he's like, well, I guess, and they don't, Cad also tells him that there's no help coming, that he's killed the marshal. And he just looks at Mando, and he's like, well, I guess you'll be leaving then, huh? He's like, no, I made you a deal. I'm going to be here till we both fall. He's like, because that's the way. He's like, you believe all that bullshit? He's like, I do. And he's like, good. Like, he's like, well, then I guess we'll both die in the name of honor. And then the politician's like, wait a minute. I can negotiate a truce for you. That's what I do. I negotiate things. He's like, all right, yeah. Give me your pad. I'm going to write out my surrender terms here. And he goes out there to, like, the Pikes. He's like, the great Boba Fett, here's his terms of surrender. He says, oh, shit. Yeah. And they're like, read it. Well, maybe. He's like, they're reading. He's like, he says, if you don't surrender and leave now, the oceans of Tatooine will once again be filled with your blood. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then him and Mando come flying out of the skies with their jetpacks and just starts gunning motherfuckers down. I'm like, hell yeah. But even they start to get overrun, and then the town people, like you don't shoot the sheriff. Like that, if they probably would have been like, nah, this is not our problem, and voted against joining the fight. But once they shot Cobb, they're like, oh no, like these people done pissed us off. You don't shoot our sheriff and get away with it. So his army shows up to and runs the Pikes off for a bit until their freaking tank droid things show up.
Dude, they were badass too.
Like, I think they call them scorpion droids or whatever. And then the lone X-Wing flies into the garage, and, like, the mechanic's like, shit, hide all the illegal parts. Hi, officer, welcome to town. And it's like, just Grogu sitting in there.
Oh, hiya, kid.
What? Your name's Grogu? That's a horrible name. I'm not going to call you that. And of course, she shows up with him, like, in the midst of the fight. And he's like jumps on the Mando. He's like, yeah, I'm glad to see you too, buddy, but you're kind of showed up at a bad time. We're kind of fucked right now.
Oh, but you got your tiny armor vest on. You're good.
Oh, and unfortunately, the Gamorrean guards did not make it through the ambush, but Black K, man, when he starts taking on all those Trandoshans, and you're like, you think he's fucked, and then, like, in the middle of that battle, he comes, like, around the corner, still dragging, like, 3 dudes. And it's like, I mean, he's like damn badass. He's like,
I mean, dude, he's a fucking gladiator.
Yeah, he was fucking some shit up. And even, like, when Finnick that goes and rescues the mods, she's like, don't move. He's like, what? He's like, get out. And you're like, okay. And all of a sudden, you're like, she starts sniping dudes right and left, and, like, gets them back in the fight, and everybody ends up back at the OK Corral there, having to fend off the droids. And he's like, we need some help. And like Mando's like, dude, you're out of friends. Where are we gonna get help? He's like, keep everybody alive. I'll be back. And then like they get that whole running gun through the town with the freaking droids, and then all of a sudden Fett rides in on his freaking Rancor. You're like, fuck yes. When that Rancor just comes over the building and like Fett riding that thing, it's like, all right, this is badass.
But you knew that was gonna happen at some point, like.
Oh, yeah, because that was the first thing he said to Danny Trejo, and he's like,
I need to learn to ride it.
Yeah, he's like, what? He's like, I've read things bigger than this, because like he rode like a big dinosaur thing in like the first appearance of Boba Fett in the cartoon as part of the Christmas special. Yeah, him riding in there like a damn cowboy on top of a Rancor. Oh, that was like the most badass thing. You're like, you knew it was gonna happen. I'm like, why didn't you just go back and get your ship and come and bomb these things? But Rancor ship would have probably been easier, but Rancor battle way better.
And unpredictable.
Yeah, when he gets knocked off and it goes on its own rampage and starts climbing the tower, like, oh, now we have a King Kong reference. With like Mando, and when Mando tries to like fight it and just like bites his helmet and like looking at him, he's like, sorry about that, big guy. Just trying to calm you down. Start doing the Marvel thing. The sun's getting real low, buddy. Trying to calm the Hulk. And then like
some imprint this is.
And then like little Grogu just goes out there and like Jedi mind tricks it and puts it to sleep, and then he's like, all right, you're like a big puppy now. I'm just gonna curl up next to you and take a nap myself.
It's too much excitement for a little kid.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna chill. But yeah, and then like after like you cut to all the bosses like hiding out in Mos Eisley's, and then Fennec just shows up and like murks like all the bosses, hangs the mayor and kills all the Pikes. It's like, oh yeah, fuck all y'all.
Justice was served.
And that was the part too, like after that really reminded me of a John Wayne movie, because in both of those, like Rio Bravo and El Dorado, like after the war with the bad cowboys are over, you always have, John Wayne and his deputy or whatever kind of walking the town, kind of doing his like, final patrol, and like, and all the townsfolk's like, how you doing, sir, and all that, and it's like, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty much just the end of Rio Bravo. It's like, or El Dorado, because both those movies are pretty much the same movie. It's like, yep, I'm gonna take a walk around my town. And even like Big K is there, and the biker gangs. He's like, it's like I said, like, well, we're all a family now, and we've got our town. And then you get the kind of post credits of, they said the marshal was shot, but they never said he was. They said, well, he shot him in cold blood, but never did say kill him.
Yep.
And like, Fett's like, everybody's like, he keeps having to like salute people, and he's like, oh, why is it? It's like, why do they all have to like, like salute me or something? Because I gotta keep raising my arm. My arm hurts. So, well, why don't you get in your back to tank? He's like, well, it's kind of occupied right now. And it cuts to the mod doctor that saved Fennec is there, and you see Cobb Vanth in the back to tank. We're like, hell yeah, he didn't die. So hopefully, if we get another season of this, he'll show up and do some more gunslinging.
Yeah,
because I really like that character.
That was an awesome character for sure.
And I love the when you see Mando and Grogu flying away, and he's in the little bubble cockpit thing with the with the gear shifter from the Razor Crest that he gave, and he's like tapping on the glass. He's like, nope, we're not gonna do it. And he's like, just taps on the glass alarm. He's like, no more. And he's like, come on. He's like, I want to go fast. No, come on. I want to go fast. No, I won't go fast. He's like, fine, last time. And like, it's the freaking nitrous button. It takes off. I'm like, that's badass.
Yeah, that's why, kids in the backseat cause accidents. But remember, accidents in the backseat cause kids.
True. Ooh. So, as we kind of wrap this up, any highlights we've not discussed that Do you think this is a one and done for the Book of Fett, or are some of those characters going to show up in like Mandalorian or some of these other series?
Oh yeah,
we got coming out?
I definitely think we've already had the crossover. I think the crossover will continue. Will it continue in the entirety of the Book of Fett? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I really think they wrapped up.
I mean, they didn't leave any big cliffhangers or anything else, but they introduced some really cool, characters that maybe we'll get some spin-off series or something else. And that's one of the things that I like about these platforms, developing these shows and series the way they are, is it opens the door for, many characters that you talked about through the books. As somebody that has not read all of the books or as familiar with the books as you are, it's like, these are people that I want to see, in action.
Yeah.
That I want to learn more about. And
we didn't even talk about the final showdown between Cad Bane and Boba Fett. That was badass. I mean, when he just finally struggling outgunning him, and it turns into like you said, a fist fight, and he finally he's like, you're going soft in your old age. He's like, yeah, we all do eventually. He's like, why are you trying to be like the savior? You're a killer. And at the end, he's like, see, I knew you were a killer. And he finally grabs his freaking gaffy stick and fucks him up, finally puts him down. It's like, oh yeah, that was the most badass duel.
yes.
But yeah, they kind of wrap this up nicely. So I don't know if we'll have a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, but we may see these characters again show up in The Mandalorian, or I think the Obi-Wan series starts probably I think in May. And then we also have an Ahsoka series coming out at some point. So probably not the last we've seen of these characters, but this may be the one and done season for the Book of Boba Fett. Because I know we're supposed to be getting back to the Mandalorian, fairly soon. So what do you think of this cigar?
Dude, it's been a phenomenal smoke.
Yeah, it's definitely kept my attention this whole time. It's not, I don't know, I still wouldn't call it strong, but yet the flavor has definitely been there throughout. I mean, it's definitely a bold smoke.
It takes, dude, I smoked some pretty bold cigars, and it took about the halfway point for it to sort of numb my taste buds.
Yeah, this is definitely a cigar I am enjoying. One will definitely have another one of these. It'd be good. But with that, let's wrapping up the Book of Boba Fett and get back to light speed. And you've been watching the Cigar Nerds podcast. Right. Check us out on cigarnerdpodcast.com. We're on the ESO Network at esonetwork.com. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Cigar Nerd Pod. Remember, smoke them as you got them. Like, comment, and subscribe.